You're listening to TehachaPod with Budge, Corey Costelloe, and Greg Garrett.
Welcome back to Season 2 of TehachaPod. I've got Corey Costelloe and Greg Garrett. I'm Budge. We're in a new year. It's 2021. I think thank goodness, but I'm not sure that I want to say thank goodness. We're kind of starting off where we ended, but I'm looking forward to 21.
You said Season 2. That means we got renewed.
We did. We got picked up.
And we're going to be syndicated, or is that by default, or how does that work?
With the amount of platforms we're on, Greg, we are syndicated.
There you go. Worldwide.
This is the worldwide broadcast premiere of Season 2.
Oh,
that's right.
Okay.
There you go.
And I do, you know what, it's funny, when I look at the analytics and I start looking at different parts of the world that actually download, you know, we're primarily heavily Tehachapi,
of course,
Kern County, but then we get a couple that are downloaded in England and Canada and, you know, these different places that it's like, okay, they've got to have some roots or tie back.
Right. Probably military, right? We've talked about that. So probably military. And thank you for your service if you're out there listening.
And the podcast continues to grow as the year went by. Here, something that I get really kind of goofy about when I see it is every single one of our episodes, dating all the way back to March of 2020, has been downloaded every single month. So every time we do it, it gets listened to. So we get new listeners, and then they download the entire catalog and listen. So
at some point, they're going to want to make a movie, right?
That's right.
So who's going to play, let's see, Larry King is going to play Corey's part, and then I'm going to have Ryan Reynolds or Bradley Cooper play me, and then Key, who's going to play you?
I'm going to play myself.
Okay,
That's
there
right.
you go.
Yeah. Written, produced, and acted by. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, at least when they pick up shows, like given my experience in the radio world, like when you need to actually make an option for a show, it's like, okay, what show's making the most money? Okay, that's not us.
Right.
And what show costs the most? Well, that's not us either. So guess what? We're right in the middle.
Well, and it's fun to sit here. We really quickly, we just gather ourselves. It's very efficient, 20, 30 minutes. Yeah. And I don't want to say we're winging it, but the intent of the show here is to share information, right? We've talked about that before. We have social media, press releases, city council meetings, all different platforms, and this is yet another one. Yeah. So it's fun to have a little fun, but these are important segments that we can get information out to people that want to know what's going on in their government, and right?
Like
local government,
version.
Right? And local government is so important, right? The county has, they've got serious problems going on with budget crisis and different things, and the state of California. You could go on and on. The federal government, we're not the county, state, or federal government. Not to knock them, but local control, the city of Tehachapi. There's a lot that can be influenced here locally that can make a difference. And that's so important.
And I think that when we started this show, it was about disseminating information to the community in a different way, because all of us receive information different.
Yeah. Right.
I'm a very visual, but I love having it talked to. Mm-hmm. I'm an old radio guy of, enjoying radio as a kid and listening to ball games on the radio and listening to that one speaker from AM radio and listening to this. And then I visualize, whatever is being described. So I think we're reaching an audience that's one commuting, and those maybe that they're, I don't know, they're tired of watching the same old TV show that's on, and they're flipping over and giving us a listen to on their iPhone or, their iPad and saying.
Well, our best friends, my wife and I, our best friends, one drives to Palmdale every day, one drives to Santa Clarita every day. And I've got them hooked on TehachaPod.
Good.
Right? And now they're listening. They're understanding more about what's going on in our city, because they're spending so much of their day driving, right? And you get home, you're tired, you make dinner, all those sorts of things, right? Which is 99% of us. And this is allowing them a little time to understand more about what's happening with local government.
And it's available on so many things. I mean, everything is smart, right? Your watch is smart, your phone is smart, your TV is smart. I mean, and everything, you have a little speaker thing that also is smart, and they all can play a podcast. And it doesn't have to be tied to the radio in your car. It's everywhere. It's always on us.
And you don't have to look at us. Right, just listen to us, right, and visualize what is he. What
maybe
what
season 3 will be the video version. We got to get through 2.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. Not likely.
And we are commercial free.
Yeah,
there you go.
There are no commercials, so we just try to give you the content.
Yeah.
So as we've entered 2021, we look back to 2020. Our last episode aired. We recorded it in early December, and we had some things that we were leading into. and one was seating our council and getting things set up with our mayor, because we were going to have a shift in mayor with a 2-year run that they have.
We have an amazing city council, very strong individuals, the 5 of them, and thank Susan Wiggins for her service as mayor for more than 2.5 years. As you'll recall, we lost our beloved mayor, Ed Grimes, and so she stepped up to the plate and finished his term, and then was elected internally as the mayor for 2 years. So it was a big, heavy lift for Susan. So thank you to her and her family unit for supporting her. And then Phil Smith, he was the mayor pro tem, and he's been elected as our mayor for the next 2 years. So Phil comes to us with so much institutional knowledge. You know, he's been on the council for many years, and some people criticize that. Oh, you've been too long, we need new blood. But guess what? Every once in a while, things get a little squirrely, and we start talking about different things, and Phil will say, hold on a minute. I'm having deja vu. We did this before. Here's the outcome. Here's what's happening. And then everybody is, oh, okay, you're right. It makes sense, right? So he brings so much to the table. And then we have Michael Davies. He's been elected as the mayor pro tem. So we're really excited. Christina Scrivener was reelected along with Michael this year. Unopposed, and then Stacy Curry is our new treasurer. So thank all of them. And Tori Marsh, of course, was reelected as our city clerk. So good people doing good work.
I know over the past several years, probably 5 years of attending city council meetings, Phil is the one that really jumps out.
Yeah.
That where he brings what someone brought to him on the street.
Yeah.
And he goes, I want to make sure that all of our residents understand this. Let's explain this a little bit better. So
he is all about that.
Yeah, making sure that people understand, and he's a strong leader.
And that tenure too. I mean, you think about his tenure. I mean, started in the 1980s. Think about I've seen the transition of Tehachapi from the 1980s to today. So if you have somebody who's been on the council who was there when business was done the way it was done in the 1980s, and then there was a shift and a transition, and then there was, what happened in the 1990s when we started getting a little more commercial and started getting a little more investment, and then, the late 1990s with redevelopment of downtown, and then into the new millennium. And you think about really the change we've seen in the last 30, almost 40 years now, over 40 years in Tehachapi. Phil Smith has been in a position to see all that. So what Greg pointed out earlier, we've had multiple occasions where maybe something comes up and Phil will say, well, I remember in 1989 we addressed this issue, and it's great insight to have because he knows the history of it, and not every decision, he admits, back in 1980 might have been the right one, or the 80s, and then he learns the second time around. Right. And that's kind of like the caveat. Okay, we made this mistake before, we're not going to do it again. So that's the important part, to have that institutional knowledge.
And then Joan Pogencourt, retired educator on the council, and she's always networking with people. She'll call me almost every day. Why are we doing this? Why did we do this? Why aren't you doing that? Yeah. And so it generates those processes that are so important in local government.
And they're approachable people. I think that's why. I mean, Joan Pogencourt's been a PE teacher here since the 1970s, and so before she retired, and so everybody knows her. They just know Pogie, and so they feel comfortable approaching her. Phil Smith, they feel comfortable approaching him in their neighborhood, downtown. The same goes with Michael Davies and Christina and Susan Wiggins as well. I mean, everybody, they just feel comfortable approaching them, and that's when then they approach and ask questions.
And Christina Scrivener, she's the director of philanthropy at Adventist Health. She's well-connected, does an amazing job. They raised over $2 million last year for improvements to the hospital with her leadership. And then she has 4 young children that are in the school system. I mean, just really a good mix of 5 individuals that are true leaders in our city and our community.
What's funny is we're going to transition out of our talking about our city council for a second. Our holiday decorating contest, when you mentioned Christina, with Christina and with Joan, they were both, can I please pick more than one winner?
They labored over that decision, didn't they?
They did.
They did not take that one lightly.
And it was one of those, something that we asked the council to do, was to pick winners of the holiday decorating contest that we did this year for the first time. And
just an example of taking their job serious.
Yeah.
Right? And they want everybody to win, and it's a good thing. And the holiday decorating contest was such a grand slam, Key and I are talking about some other awards programs and different things, people maintaining their yards, most improved, different things. So we're going to take this and spin it and make it even more so because, there's so much doom and gloom in the world, but we're not going to hold our, put our hat on that. We're going to move forward and stay positive and really make a difference in our community.
And with the decorating contest, as it originally started out, it was just here in the city of Tehachapi. And we thought it was just something we should do based on what 2020 was like, the pandemic, everyone at home. There was just kind of the air of, I don't know, just what am I going to look forward to?
Yeah.
And then people jumped on board. And then it grew, so we were able to include everybody. And everybody meaning Bear Valley, Stallion Springs, Golden Hills, and it let it be an entire zip code event. And that's because people like the Loop came on board.
Yeah.
When Claudia White, the owner of the Loop, approached me and said, "That's a great idea. What can we do?" And it's like, well, why don't we expand it? Let's partner and let's make sure that Golden Hills and Stallion and Bear Valley are represented in this event and make sure that everybody gets to enjoy it, which we had over 100 participants in the contest.
Yeah. And I think
and those are just people that signed up, right? There were lots more.
There was hundreds and hundreds more.
Right.
And I think that's the point because I think there was a lot of people that didn't actually enter the contest that now next year will go, oh, I should have won, but I didn't enter, so I'm going to enter next year. So
we need some kind of competitive sport, right? I mean, high school sport, junior high, everybody is just kind of flatlined at this point. So let's do something.
Well, and what's funny is even going into Phil Smith had asked me and said, "Hey, can we have other categories? Can we expand this? Because it's so tough to pick. Because the judging criteria was pick something that moves you.
Yeah,
and so each individual judge was able to pick something that they felt that was like whatever their connection was to it that made them feel good. So there was a variety, which I thought was really nice. It wasn't the most lights. It wasn't the brightest show. It was what was said the holidays to them. And Phil says, we need more categories. Well, hey, if we get this kind of participation and community between public and private, with the private sector coming in and then using Love Tehachapi to assist in some of the judging, who has been such a great community organization that's been there to do cleanups. My goodness, it was something that it fell together organically, which is, I think, what made it very successful and positive. But the community really embraced it.
Right, and I've asked our public works to take down the holiday decorations, the tree and the wreath and all those sorts of things. But we're going to leave the snowflakes up for the winter. We're going to leave some of the white lights up, City Hall, different places, just to add charm to our downtown, right? Brighten somebody's face, give them a smile. So we're going to leave those over the winter.
Well, as we move into 2021, we've got other things that are going on, Corey, here in the economic world. We're still seeing more growth in our community and on the business side.
Yeah, more investment. I think that's a big part of 2020. When you recap it, when I look back, I give a report to the Greater Tehachapi Economic Development Council recently. And, I saw about $6 million or more, actually, of commercial investment or reinvestment last year. So that's like, you add the Panda Express and a few $1 million for that project, but then you also have a lot of the reinvestment, the renovation of sites that became new restaurants or other new businesses. That was a great number considering everything we had to deal with. And you look back at 2020 and even, to be honest, we sat in March when the governor issued the first stay-at-home order. We sat in a room and thought, okay, the sky's going to fall here, and Panda Express, this, that, and another thing, it's not going to happen just because who is this giant cloud of uncertainty. But it all happened. It came through, and more happened. And Valley Strong came to the table and finalized their plans, and now has since broke ground and poured the foundation. And they're moving on to start the outlot development outside of the Walmart project. So it was really encouraging that all this happened. 5 new restaurants open up when restaurants are one of the most hard hit by COVID and regulations and stuff. So that was encouraging to see that stuff happen, and that kind of set the playing field for 2021. I think that's really because a lot of these projects got approval and now they're moving forward into 2021. So that was super encouraging that all happened despite everything going on, and just shows that it's a desirable place to invest and live and work, and that investment's still coming in. It's great to see small business is still thriving despite all the challenges that are out there.
No, that's right. And so, Tehachapi is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination for sure, but we steered the city through the recession, and we are steering it. Everybody that's not just City Hall, but the entire populace, and we're steering it through COVID-19, and we're increasing the value of this town and the investment, return and the quality of life, all those things, the spokes of the wheel, they all matter, whether it's the schooling, the school district, the parks district, all of the things, the hospital, they all matter, and people have a burning desire to live and work in a nice town, and that's Tehachapi.
Mm-hmm. And then with businesses, we had a renewing of the PPP.
Yeah.
So that's something that maybe, because there's been so much going on in the world and here nationally that sometimes we don't get to see or pay a lot of attention to in the news about some of the programs that are renewed, and it's something that can really help out.
Yeah, the PPP is open for a second round. If for folks either got a first round or didn't get a first round, those businesses, and so that is available. The SBA's website has a lot of good guidance. And I mentioned Valley Strong. They put out a press release yesterday. Although Valley Strong's building a new branch here, they do have a branch in Tehachapi, and so most of these loans through the PPP are set up through a local lender. And they've got to be approved by the SBA and all that stuff. So Valley Strong put out a press release yesterday that said, hey, we're ready to go. Come see us. So that we've got some information coming out on that. But I would just throw that out there because they are one of the local lenders that are participating in that program. If your business does need it, for sure, take advantage of it. I think a lot of folks have. It helped them. And I think they're back to recovering, which is nice, but I think there's still some need out there. And so take a look at the SBA and then also, Valley Strong specifically because of their local lending ability.
Right.
Have you had any conversations with any local businesses, not that you have to mention their by name, but that have used it, that it's given them a boost or a support to get them through here locally?
Yeah, with the PPP part, it's about the employment, making sure that you're keeping people employed and you're basically pledging to say, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to pay these employees. Yeah, that certainly helped bridge the gap. I think even if that money has helped sort of make up shortfalls, maybe in anticipated revenues that would go to paying an employee. So, it might not, so the $25,000 doesn't sound like a lot, just use that number, but that money being spread out over several months to help fill a gap, when maybe the profit is short, to be able to pay that employee and keep that person employed is important. And yeah, I know several that have used it. And they're still operating now, and they kept people employed, which was the most important thing. And I think that's been a big testament here. We didn't see a lot of mass layoffs on a lot of the small businesses because they took advantage of these programs and a variety of other things out there. So that I think has been the biggest benefit. It's kept people employed and it's helped bridge a gap while they try to figure out their business model during COVID.
Business always has to evolve, and the pandemic forced some people to evaluate their business and say, hey, how do I keep the clientele up? How do I better communicate? Some was social media, and then some were creating their own apps.
Yeah.
Or tying it. I that's one of those things where I was like, I started using apps more locally.
Yeah.
To buy goods and food and things like that. I was like, oh my gosh! we're really embracing technology.
Online ordering. Yeah. It's funny. I ordered online the other day from Four Seasons Cafe on the corner. And it's funny. I always order online there because it's an easy pickup from City Hall. And I got an email from the owner, Michael, and he said, I don't want to bother you, but I see you ordered online. Can you give me what you thought about what you ordered? I'd ordered some soup, and they were trying to perfect so it was kind of funny because he saw that I'd ordered. And so had asked for my Food Network opinion of his wonton soup.
Oh, that sounds like another broadcasting. You're trying to run out, like we're going to start making food.
Yeah. So I basically gave him my Food Network recap of the flavored combinations of his wonton soup.
Oh, great.
It was great because I was using that technology, and Kelsey's his neighbor. Kelsey's is the oldest restaurant we have around here, and they have an app. It's really cool, and it's really well set up, and you can order online. And it's really awesome to see even these old established businesses embrace that technology piece, which before COVID, we didn't have it. But that's also helped them get up to speed with your corporations. For example, Panda Express, they have a great app, and that's a corporate app. But now we're seeing the other people figure it out because of COVID. They sort of were forced into it, and now they can compete and give that convenience to their customers as well, which I think is really cool and one of those kind of benefit takeaways from all this.
Well, we're seeing delivery services, groceries being delivered.
Yeah.
And just I don't know. It's been a tough year, but I definitely look at the evolution of business and local business, the small guy. And for those that aren't comfortable going out, they've got options to make it easier for them and still support local business.
Yeah. And nobody threw their hands in the air and just gave up. I mean, obviously that's never going to happen in this community, but everybody found a way to fight. Even the businesses that unfortunately maybe had to close, there haven't been a lot, but they took one final stab at it in a crazy way, you know? And so everybody found a way to fight and adapt. And that's been really the takeaway from 2020 was that we have a bunch of fighters in this business community, and they found a way to continue to fight and make it work and adapt to, you know, to overcome these weird challenges.
Well, the only thing for certain is change.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing for certain is change. You have to always be ready for the thief in the night.
Well, it's true. I mean, you know, you think about our police department, they brought on online reporting for certain crimes a few years ago and kind of got in front of the technology base on that level, you know, and making it easier for people to report certain types of crimes. It's now, there's really, I can't think of a business where it's not important to have that kind of connection with the community. And, you know, as usually it's November, December, we talk about shop local, buy one. You know, we've got the lowest sales tax in the region, but we want to continue to say that and support our businesses through the winter season. There's traditionally January is always a very slow month up here, usually very cold, which means not a lot of people come up. But here's an opportunity for us to make sure that we continue to support the local guy.
And even on technology, you talk about that. We even have the ability to report potholes, water leaks, streetlight outages. It's not app based, but you can get it on your phone on our website and fill out a request, and it tracks everything from, you know, reporting to fixing on that too. So even that kind of stuff is going on.
We're not everywhere, and I don't think you want us everywhere. And this is your town. So if you see a pothole, or if you want to, you know, if you see a crime, or you see something that it doesn't quite pass your smell test, call the police department, 822-2222, right? Communications will answer. Chief Krager and his department are top-notch people. We're all in this together. You know, our crime, with everything going on, we've had some rise in certain areas, but overall it's gone down a little bit, maybe about 2% year over year. That's amazing. That is bucking the trend. Why is that? That's because people are involved. That's because we have an amazing police force that cares and really follows through and closes out cases and gets things done, because the criminals know they're not welcome in Tehachapi.
Exactly. You know, things to look forward to. We've got, and kind of on the technology side, TCT, our Tehachapi Community Theater, they've been doing things online, you know, holding a telethon. When I saw that, I go, hold on a second, that's a throwback to seeing the Jerry Lewis telethon, the old Labor Day days. But they're bringing in people from the theater, providing entertainment, and in hopes, you know, that the community will make donations and help support this nonprofit group that just is there to entertain us. And because we can't have the gatherings, they figured out a way to try and evolve themselves and do it online through their website.
Yeah.
So we're going to have Chris Morales from TCT on in an upcoming episode here in the next few weeks.
I look forward to that.
And we'll talk to her about how it's evolved and the things that they've had to do and change, and what the community response has been like.
And I think they did a late night show, and there's maybe a play or something scheduled for an online stream, and it'll be great. I mean, I think that'll be a great way to, again, adapt. It's not perfect, but we've seen music performers do concerts that way and stream those performances, and now, you know, theater groups as well are kind of I know Fiddler's Crossing's done a couple of their virtual shows that way. So hopefully this can continue and kind of bridge that gap until they get back to having actual in-house plays.
And it gives us an alternative to watching, whether we're Netflixing or binging some other show. Let's come back to our local community theater. Let's come back to our local, you know, music house and enjoy some of the local artists that are out there sharing what they do.
Absolutely.
And then also we've got from Caltrans, we're going to talk with Christine Nadler. She is the PIO in charge of District 9. And District 9 is where Tehachapi is. And it's a large region.
It's a large region. It goes all the way. It's the eastern Sierra area. It goes all the way from the Nevada state line up above Mono County, all the way down to Tehachapi Caliente, actually, and all the way out to the San Bernardino. So it's a large district, and they're headquartered in Bishop. They have an amazing team up there that is maintaining and improving and communicating with us. So our relationship just grows stronger and stronger with Caltrans, and we really appreciate their partnership.
It does. And one of the main focuses we want to talk about is how they communicate with the public and share information, and how we're able to connect with them. But also, so if our community, especially as commuters, want to pay attention to what's going on in the 58 or other construction projects, where they can get that information as it continually gets updated. Because we don't get the TV coverage, from Bakersfield on these kinds of things.
Right.
They talk about Bakersfield construction. So Caltrans is always talking about their projects. So we wanted to at least get that information out to the public, how the best way to receive it. We share it when we can, when it impacts our area. But if you're traveling to the Antelope Valley, the new Rosemond construction, which has been postponed for a few weeks, they're updating that all the time. So it's a good way, I think, that when we talk to Christine, we'll find out exactly the platforms that they use, because they're a little bit different than us.
I look forward to it, because there's a lot of people that commute in Kern County, and this affects them, whether it's 58, 14, 395, all those different highways and byways. And it's important to know what Caltrans is doing, because they're improving things, making them safer so that you can get to where you want to go in a safe way.
You mentioned the media coverage of the Bakersfield construction. I mean, they've got so much of that down there right now because of their the Thomas Road Improvement Project is funding, and they're getting all these free. I'm a big picture guy, so every time I'm down there, it's not as much anymore. But as you get frustrated with construction, you can see the progress. Okay, this is gonna be really cool when it's done. Like, this is gonna be great. And there's plenty of coverage of that down there. So yeah, you're right. And I did see, I think it was like an internet meme. It said, "Be like Highway 99, never stop working on yourself."
There you go. Right. I can't figure out is why, when you're driving on 58 or any road and you're driving along the freeway, and then you come to a bridge and you bump. Why isn't the bridge the same height and level as the road?
There's probably some kind of
am I missing
seismic,
something?
I bet you it's seismic.
Or I don't know what's going on.
Probably a seismic thing to allow a little bit of wiggle when there's a.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because you don't want it to be rigid, because then that's we've seen that happen, right? Earthquakes topple things, so they put a little wiggle in there. I think
seems like they could figure out a way to make the road and the bridge at the same elevation.
Well, maybe Christine will have an answer for you on that.
There you go.
But bringing up something that they had released the other day is they are holding a survey in-house, so you can go and tell them what's important to you that Caltrans should be working on. So we've shared that on our social media, and they have it on their social media, Caltrans District 9, and let them know what's important.
Right, Highway 202. It goes through the city out to CCI, right? That is a state highway also, right? What's important to you? Would you like to see it widen? Would you like to see bike lanes? All those sorts of things. Not to say that, if you say it, we're going to go do it, right? Because it takes money. And the money's got to come from somewhere, and you can only do so much. But we need to make sure that our voices are heard.
Right. There's been a big conversation about sidewalks along 202 in some of that area. So hopefully, people that are listening that feel very strongly about that can give that input to Caltrans, because they're the ones that need to hear it.
Right.
They need to hear it there. Right. And so respond to their survey.
And as our community grows, our traffic patterns change. We understand that a High Line is becoming, like the 405 freeway twice a day, commuters in, commuters out, kind of like the school district. Whenever there's twice a day chaos on High Line, there's twice a day, heavy traffic. And so what do you do about that? Do you put in signals? Do you put in roundabouts? Do you widen it? Do you put in the turning lanes? So all of that stuff has to be planned out.
Another thing that we've got coming up is Gilbert, Arizona. I was not very familiar with Gilbert, Arizona, but I started doing some research on government social media and interaction with the community and trying to enhance what we do here, and found that Gilbert, Arizona has a very active community engagement and communications program using the digital platforms like we do, but they've been doing it longer. And we're going to talk to the director, which is Dana Birchman. She is the chief digital officer. She's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks on one of our shows to talk about what they're doing in Gilbert, Arizona. They're a larger community, 250,000 is the population, but the things that they do is very similar to the things that we do and the way they want to talk to the community. So I'm looking forward to that conversation.
So am I. Key, when you told me that we were going to talk to Dana from Gilbert, I was not surprised because I'm aware of Gilbert. I followed them a little bit. There are certain cities that I follow because they, as we mature and progress and grow, we want to be something special, right? So Gilbert is a town, a city that I have followed over the last couple of years. And when you told me about their communications platform, I was not surprised. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to speaking with her.
And they kind of have a similar, I would say, similar to us in the term of, they're Metro Phoenix. They're kind of, so you've got these cities that share this border: Phoenix, Scottsdale, Gilbert, Mesa, Tempe. And so it all, when you look at it on a map, everybody thinks it's Phoenix, right? But there's different, just like we have. We have this similar case here. We have incorporated city, and then we have unincorporated county. And so it's important for them to have that kind of communication platform similar to us to be able to differentiate between the where the boundaries are at and who's responsible for what. So although theirs is a much more urban situation than ours, I think some of the similarities are there just because of the surrounding communities that they have as well.
It just makes me think about spring training too.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah,
something else that's coming up.
The Angels. Yeah.
Let's hope it'll be as normal as possible.
We'll see.
Exactly.
Right? We'll see.
Well, guys, anything else you want to bring up that's coming up? These are some of the shows that we've got lined up for the future. Mm-hmm. Kind of recapped our closing of 2020, what to look forward to in 2021. Anything else?
I just think we're going to continue with, I think the first day back, a lot of us took some time off, but in the holidays and, Monday was a couple Mondays ago was the first Monday back. We had like 4 things walk in the door that people were ready to build and move forward. And I said, wow, this is a great start. Already it's the first day and people are coming in pushing for plans and permits and stuff. And I'm like, this is awesome to see. And these are fairly large projects and tons of meetings already on things. And this has been 2 weeks worth of work in the new year, and yesterday was nonstop between economic development services all day long, in and out of meetings, which I thought was so encouraging and setting a great groundwork for 2021.
And the housing market is red hot. Mm-hmm. My goodness, things can't stay on the market.
A 10% increase in sales price last year in the city. And more importantly, of the sales we had 109 or so, 80% of those sold within 30 days of being on the market, which was nuts.
There's some new homes being built on Elm Street and the Applewood Estates. Cute little homes. They're just great. And so, take a look at those. And some other tracks in the queue. Address was approved. We're still working on Sage Ranch, but some really good projects that are in the queue for opportunities.
Absolutely.
Well, if you've ever have a question, all of us are available, all 3 of us. I know, Greg, that's one of the things that you always say is reach out to me and ask me your question.
I love it when people call me. Usually it's a complaint, but after I listen to them and then we start talking about what's really going on, then there's some better understanding. Yeah. Now at the end, they still might not be happy, but they understand the problem in front of all of us that we can deal with. So I appreciate when people call.
Yeah, my favorite, I'll get voicemails, we all do, but I'll get voicemails. Someone's mad and they're really angry on the phone and maybe they're kind of rude. And then when I call them back, they're like, we'll chat. And maybe right off the outset, but usually later in the call, they're like, I'm sorry I was so, mean that when I left you a message, I was just frustrated, but I feel better now, And so anyway, it's usually a chance to, they'll vent on a voicemail. And then when you talk to them, I feel much better.
I can appreciate the anger and venting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, once we vet things and talk about it, then, we're all better off, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I totally agree because I get the same here on my end in the community engagement. And once they know they've got someone that's actually listening to what they're saying, and then you try to help resolve whatever that issue is and give them answers or, maybe that's the direction that they're looking for, then you can feel them actually coming down from that heightened sense of, frustration, which is a lot of government organizations are filled with the bureaucracy and you've got to press 4 different codes to get to the department.
Yeah.
We're not like that. We're a lot easier to connect to. Sometimes it does take us a day or so to return a phone call, but when we do, let's make sure we can help resolve your issue.
And we want to, 9 times out of 10, it's not even city related, right? It's the community, the region, something else, but we're more than happy to figure out what's up and how can we help and provide answers.
Yep.
So we invite you to send us your comments, your questions, if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. Our email here for the podcast is media at TehachapiCityHall.com. All of our contact information is on our website at liveuptehachapi.com, and you can go there and you can look at Greg's contact info, Corey's, or mine, and you can reach us through our emails that way, or give us a call, or just send us media at TehachapiCityHall.com. We'd love to hear from you, and thank you for joining us, and we're excited about Season 2 and where we're headed in 2021.
TehachaPod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of TehachaPod.